you guys, man. Thank you for what you guys do, and appreciate you guys having me on.
We were trying not to score and everything. We hit about 33s or something.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of felt that. We kind of feed off that energy.
This place is amazing. Like I really love Duke, and I love the atmosphere I'm in here.
Mark Williams, beast mode. Paolo first half, he had the cramping stuff. Fair enough. Beast mode.
Welcome back to the Crazie Cast. Let me get a round of applause. Let me get the round of applause out, man. Feels like it's been 2 months.
You do feel like a long time.
It feels like it's been 2 months, and it's really been like 2 weeks since the game that broke our hearts. But I think we've all, for the most part, people are moving on, and we are recovering, and we're ready to move on toward 2026-2027 season. I'm here with my guys, Russ from, I think, Canada.
Let's go, baby.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, Canadian
where
brewery.
the healthcare is universal and the beer is cold.
And Jamahal, from Raleigh, same spot as usual.
Cool state.
Appreciate y'all fellas for joining this off-season pod, the first of maybe many, because there's a lot of topics to get through. We know what people are wanting. The portal talk, who's coming, who's staying. Luckily, we have 2 already decisions made that we will address. But before, I guess we address those immediately, I do want to play a call because I want to quickly just recap, get y'all thoughts on. I don't think we really did recap the season last episode because we were so
we was hurt, man. We was hurt.
But wanted to get y'all thoughts first on just like a quick short recap. No, it doesn't need to be too long, on your thoughts on last season, and then I'll play a quick call for someone who had a question about summing up the season. But Russ, started off, man.
I mean, great season. Bad ending, but great season. Once again, Duke was a 1 seed. Once again, a title contender. Once again, in a great position to win. Fell short. Weird circumstance, obviously, but the entire season was incredible. I mean, like, almost comparable to 2025. Really, I mean, like. Which is insane. I mean, I think if you thought that with our 38-year-old coach, we'd have 2 seasons back-to-back like this, like, I just thought it was a great season.
For sure. Jamahal, what you thinking?
Yeah, I can say this. This is the season that I've showed the most growth as a Duke fan. Like, honestly, bro, I was healed enough to the point I watched the Final Four. I watched the entire national championship game from start to finish. I've never been able to do that in recent years. Like, especially once Duke gets eliminated, like at the very end, like that. But it sucks that the season had to end the way it did. But one of the all-time great Duke regular seasons in my lifetime is up there with 99 to me. They lost the same amount of games. Wait, no. We lost 3 games this year, including the tournament. Yeah, 99 lost 2. But it's up there, and both of them ended in heartbreaking fashion. But I had a lot of fun cheering for this team, man, especially like what Russ just said. Coming after 25, and a lot of us, including myself, didn't think that it would be possible to recreate that magic and that level of dominance, and we did. And so thank y'all fellas for that. It didn't end the way everybody wanted to, but that doesn't take away from the journey. I enjoyed the journey from start to finish. So,
yeah. I mean, piggybacking off what y'all said, I mean, we are 70-7, I believe, the last 2 seasons. Like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You don't even see that nowadays in college basketball, especially for a team that, while people may say the ACC is trash and all that. Yep. They schedule big dogs. They put big dogs on that schedule, especially this year. I'm definitely still proud of how the season went. Obviously, terrible ending, and that will lead into our next question from a fan who had a little scenario So we're gonna jump into call. We'll probably jump into more calls later, but just to start us off, I wanted to let you guys answer this question. So this caller is from Patrick Brown.
Guys, would you rather have our season or Arizona's season? So, both dominant 2-loss seasons heading into the tournament, both 1 seeds. We lose in the Elite Eight in a epic collapse highlighted by a catastrophic mistake leading to what will be an all-time iconic college basketball buzzer beater. They make it to the Final Four, but get absolutely demolished there in a game that was essentially billed as the national championship. So I'm going to go with our season basically every time. Like, this team wasn't the same after injuries, but with our ending, this team could still be considered to be historically great, but just kind of got picked off by a crazy March Madness moment. I feel like an ending like Arizona's, on the other hand, just really taints the whole season in a different way. That ending, takes away any claim of historical greatness for that team. And I feel like they'll always be remembered more like they were just kind of always pretenders the whole season. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Let's jump in.
I mean, we were hurt, so that's a big caveat to all this, right? With the injuries, the sort of half healthy, stuff. I think that plays a big role. I don't think that the way their Final Four game went takes anything away from their season. So I kind of disagree with that. Sometimes you just get your ass kicked, man. I mean, like, you can be a really good team. Like, on another day, if they play again, I don't think they get their ass kicked like that, but they did that day. And so that's all that really matters. I sort of always made that argument about 2018, that I think it was 2018, where if we had won that game, if the correct call had been called when Wendell Carter drew that block, and then we go and win that game, I've always sort of maintained that Villanova just demolishes us in our zone.
I kind of thought that too. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, sure, a little different, but like the point being, I don't think that makes anybody go, well, I prefer to lose in the Elite Eight then. Like, people still just like they want the shot at it, I'd feel different if we were both like healthy, if both teams were healthy going into the games and they lost in their respective ways. Then maybe I have a thing. But frankly, because Duke was so beat up, Malik on the sideline having back spasms, Cam with half his face broken, like Caleb, Pat. I mean, like we were limping across the finish line. And that's just one of those things that happens. So, and again, we almost won that game, and maybe should have won that game. In fact, I'd say definitely should have won that game, despite all of that. But UConn did what they did. You got to credit them for that. But like, I don't know. It's an incomplete grade for me. I got to cop out on it because we were so beat up, man.
That's definitely a cop out.
We were so beat up, man. Shut up. If we were healthy and lost in the Elite Eight, and Arizona's healthy and lost in the Final Four, then I would have said I'd rather have Arizona's season, of course. But I think if we even have one of those players not hurt, then we beat UConn, we beat Illinois, and like, you know what I mean? So like, our season was set up for greater success, I think. And I was skeptical all year of Arizona's lack of ability to shoot threes, whereas Duke, I thought, had a more balanced attack. So I'd still maybe prefer Duke, but I don't prefer an Elite Eight exit to a Final Four exit. I prefer a Final Four exit.
Yeah, I can understand that. Traditional. Okay, so me personally, as a Duke fan, I've been a Duke fan for a very long time. I've seen Duke lose in every single round. Honestly, it hurts worse for me the further we get. Like, I've seen us lose first round, second round, Sweet 16, Elite Eight. We just did that this year again. Final Four national title games. I've seen that. I remember 94 vividly. I remember 99. It hurts the further you get. So that was part of what hurt so bad about Houston last year. It's like, bro, we are literally right here on the doorstep of a championship, like right there on the doorstep, and then that collapsed. But I don't know. That's a good point. What was his name? Patrick? That was the guy?
Patrick.
That was really good insight. That's a really good point, because you do not want – I can't vividly – I think in 2011, Arizona kind of ran away with that game at the end. Oregon in 2016. Like, when you kind of – when you get beat handily, it kind of leaves a different taste in your mouth. I've seen that. Maybe not to the point where we lost by like 20 plus 30, like we were down 30. I don't really remember seeing that from a Duke team ever in my life, but I don't know. However you go out, part of like the weird thing that I've been telling everybody about the good and the bad with how we lost is it's the same. Like the flukiness of the way we lost makes me feel a little bit better about it, because that wasn't a normal scenario. It's not like UConn just stepped on the floor and just flat out looked better than us, like in the sense that even like Russ, you were right, like it could be for one night, but that's all you get in the NCAA tournament is one chance at it. And the one chance Arizona got at an elite program, like they look like they didn't belong. Like, so I would rather, I guess, lose in a heartbreaking fashion than to get on a stage where you have been arguably the best team in the sport all year and just look like you don't belong amongst the other best teams. Like, and you're right, as unfair as it is, because if they played a series, it wouldn't be that lopsided. But if they played a series, UConn wouldn't have passed Duke either. You know what I mean? So it is. So I think would rather take us.
I think the most painful losses to that point that I've ever encountered were all buzzer beater things. Like the buzzer beaters were worse.
Yeah.
But the angriest I ever was after a game was in 2011, where I just kind of thought, like, these guys deserve better than this. You know, like I remember going home in like abject silence. I was just like, because at least all the buzzer beater games, you can sit there and go, we played well enough to win. And in 2011, that was just like flat out not the case.
Yeah.
And I was just like, they deserve better, you know? So,
yeah, I don't know. I would not want to go out like that. Not like just getting smacked. I don't even really care what round it is. The fact that it was in the Final Four, not the Elite Eight, to go out like that after you've been that dominant, I don't know. I wouldn't second guess how we felt, because that's the one thing that I've been saying the past couple of years about Duke. Everybody that beat Duke didn't really beat Duke. Duke legitimately beat themselves almost every single time we've lost the past 2 years, outside of maybe Kentucky. I can give Kentucky that, and Clemson beat us. I don't want to take that credit away, but usually, bro,
I don't want to do the Duke only beats themselves thing though, because it takes away from like, you know, what I mean, I don't want to be like,
but if we're
like,
being honest, if you just like look at the scenarios the fashion in which we've lost these games, Duke blew those games more than the other team like actually won. I'm like, these are facts, like, and that's why the narrative is around.
It's hand in hand. Like if UConn doesn't make their shots, if UConn doesn't get those steals, if they don't get the free throws, if they don't get,
but
the
you know how that
rebounds,
goes. That narrative, that narrative doesn't get perpetuated. The narrative that gets perpetuated is this Duke team has it in their grasp and they can't seem to keep it in their grasp. Like,
I'll be honest. I'm taking Zonas. I'll play devil's advocate here because we all kind of say it after the games. I prefer to just get beat than, at least from the emotional side.
We said that too immediately.
Yeah,
like, man, just beat us, bro.
Just beat us. Beat us and end it like you deserved it. Obviously, like regardless, they still deserve it. But like, nah, I can't do the buzzer beater half court shot because then it breaks me down. Like as a fan, emotionally. Like years of thinking, what if like that magical play didn't happen? Like what if we could inbound the ball against Houston versus like, you know, if Michigan just beat us in the Final Four like that, it'd be like, okay, you know, there's nothing really you could say, you know, even if we played them, you know, especially.
Would you feel different if both results were in the Final Four? Or would you still feel the same way? You'd still rather get, because like I feel like the thing that makes it hard is one was in the Elite Eight in a buzzer beater, and one was a Final Four and an ass kicking. Like if they were both Final Four, would you still prefer an ass kicking to a buzzer beater?
No. If they're both Final Four, I think it's a little bit more the route, like Jamahal was saying, and you were saying, like, okay, you know, it took one of those nights, one of those magical moments to like kick us off the ledge, but. The fact that number one, I'm always right now as a Duke fan, I'm always in the phase of give me Final Four or nothing. Like Final Four or bust. Like I know it's national championship. We want a national, but I'm always in the mess of get to the Final Four.
Me too.
Because even that Elite Eight win is a momentous like occasion at this point. You know, hosting that trophy, that NCAA tournament trophy, regional trophy, it matters a lot. So I I at least want to get there, get to the Final Four, experience that stage, and whatever happens. But yeah, I can't do Elite Eight walk off half court shot.
And you know what made it so bad? Who was it? Trey McKinney. Was it McKinney? Michigan literally ended the national championship game on a similar play to what Cayden was trying to do. And it worked for them. He got the ball all the way down court, and the game was over. And I was like, damn it. Like, so it worked this time against UConn, but it didn't work when Cayden, like, it's just like, I don't know.
They definitely watched the film too on that, but hey.
They say football is a game of inches and basketball is like a game of millimeters.
Right.
You know, like if he just gets it that much higher than the other guy's grad, you know what I mean? Like,
Wow. We can move on from that season. Thank you for that call, Patrick. We'll get to the rest of the calls later. Fellas, it's been 2 weeks since the loss, and we've already got some news. I know Duke fans are definitely right now checking their phones every 10 minutes just for any news might break during this show. So if something happens,
I still got Twitter up right now. I don't get on Twitter as much as I do in the off season. I'm on Twitter all day long.
Yeah, we know Duke fans right now are fiending for any little bit of information. We'll talk about all the rumors of who's coming in, or the decisions on the rest of the players to be made. But we had our first news. Darren Harris. Not surprising. I put this in the wrong field. Not surprising, but Darren Harris, after 2 years, will be transferring out. Rumors he may go to Virginia,
Indiana, right?
Yeah. But not really a surprising loss for Duke. Darren spent 2 years here, couldn't really crack the rotation, and you kind of knew once he he couldn't really crack the rotation. It was like he may be a guy that loves Duke, but I don't think anybody, especially of a guy that has his resume in high school, is gonna stick it out another year, especially with the NIL situation. But yeah, Darren, big Duke guy, loved being here. Shout out to him. But we all kind of saw the writing on the wall. He was supposed to actually, at many points had interest in coming on, but we couldn't get him. So shout out to him. But fellas, what was your reaction when Darren Harris put his name in the portal?
It sucks. I've been a big fan of his since high school, but also it makes sense. I mean, he didn't play much, and he'd play more elsewhere. He'd get more of a shot elsewhere. One of the big conversations this year is definitely as it pertains to proven production on next year's roster, whether it's returning, whether it's incoming. Darren has not played enough to give proven production, unfortunately. I think he's going to kill it wherever he goes. But it might just be fresh start time, which, again, as a guy who's been a big fan, sucks to see, but I also understand.
Yeah, man. This is my guy.
Yeah, man. I know you. There's no more. Is Darren Harris gonna play questions for Jamahal on TikTok?
Oh, DH Hive, man. This sucks. But I mean, this is the nature of the beast. Ironically enough, I almost feel like everybody kind of jumped the gun on his potential playing time, because if there's one area that we can all see that this Duke team coming into next year needs to add is shooting. Right? Everybody's like, well, where's the shooting? Where's the shooting? Where's the shooting? The best shooter on the roster, theoretically, is transferring out. So, I mean, I don't know. Best of luck to him. I wish it could have worked out differently, but like you said, Zion, a guy of his caliber just does not deserve, it's not fair to him to just ask him to continue to wait it out. It's only so much loyalty to a program you can show in an era where loyalty is being rushed out of the door, on both sides, players, coaches, fans, parents. Loyalty is no more. Everything is dollar driven and opportunity driven, and he'll have a better opportunity somewhere. So best of luck to him, man. I just hate it had to be you, my boy. I hate it had to be you.
Yeah, and definitely I think it was hard for him as well, just because, number one, obviously with his minutes being so inconsistent when he does get the opportunities, probably didn't have playing the rhythm as much. But hey, he's played with some talented teams, so as much as we wanted him on the floor, it's also hard to sit down Isaiah Evans. It's hard, to sit down Con Knipple, so. It's just a tough situation, but that's college basketball. But yeah, Darren, we wish you the best, brother. Hopefully you don't go stick it in the ACC because
I want him to go to Indiana so bad, even though Virginia make the most sense because that's home. But
stay away.
Yes, me too.
We don't want the Jalen Blake situation. Like we gotta destroy you. Like no, man, just stay away, man. Stay away.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that at least, I don't know. You never know what goes on behind the scenes, but I mean, he was a guy who clearly loved Duke. You could tell from, his exit interview after the last game. I mean, he was really broken up. He cares, and I certainly wonder if part of that had to do with the fact that he probably realized it was his last game in a Duke uniform. It just really hurt. It's a nice reminder of the emotions behind this. It's very easy to be cynical about the portal era because of the money and everything else, but also like these guys do like where they play sometimes. I mean, and Darren, I firmly believe was one of those guys. So, it sucks that it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But we're wishing him. We'll be watching him wherever he goes. The next one. A little bit of a surprise, maybe not so much, maybe in between, in the middle. Nick Khamenia transferred, maybe that was that Wednesday or Tuesday morning. He announced, I think the initial speculation is West Coast opportunity. Definitely a little bit surprising. I was a little bit. I'm not hurt. I wouldn't say I was hurt, but I was like, it would have been cool to see a kid, who grew so much over the year, stick it out in the system, continue to grow. Like I said, I've always been a big if he puts on muscle, which you assume he would have done going into year 2, you're going to see a much different player. And obviously, if he refines the shooting ability, the handle, tightens the handle. And obviously maybe gets a little bit more opportunities at the forward as well. You could see a different player quicker than you think, but fortunately we won't get to see that, at least for now.
No point.
So fellas, Jamahal, start us off. What was your first reaction when Nick put his name in the portal?
I was shocked. My immediate initial reaction was like, why? And then it kind of hit me like, oh snap. If Nick is leaving, somebody's coming. Nick knows something that the public don't know. And my mind immediately went into conspiracy mode. Like, okay, Nick is not just leaving Duke for no reason. Like, if they must have had a conversation that John must have told him, either somebody's coming back that we didn't think was coming back, or somebody's coming in. We have the real opportunity to bring somebody in that could potentially, because I know that John is not promising minutes to anybody. You know what I mean? So John had these conversations like, look, XYZ is coming. They compete for minutes. You compete for minutes. May the best man win type thing. And Nick was like, all right, I don't necessarily know if I want to do that. That's what my reaction behind after the shock was. So love Nick, man. I just read something we were talking about a little bit. Potentially he could return. That's not off the table. So, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, the shock was I really wanted to see this guy grow into himself at Duke. The potential in Nick. I spent so much of the year defending Nick Khamenia, bro. I spent a large portion of this season defending him against people online and in the comments, and because I see the value in a guy that is 6'9", 6'8", 215-ish, I see the positional value in that and the versatility that he has, and I was excited to see him grow at Duke. Best of luck to him if it doesn't work out, if he does not end up coming back. But I was like, I don't know, just the kid's vibes and him in the locker room behind Isaiah after we won the ACC championship, like on live. Like I don't know. I love Nick. I'm gonna miss Nick a lot, bro. I'm gonna really, really miss Nick. I felt like he came up big in a lot of our big games. He played like a freshman some, but I mean, we talked about that on this show. That's it wasn't outside of the norm for what normal freshmen, like people are so used to super freshmen. But I don't know, man. I would like to see Nick back, but I do know that John is a wizard when it comes to this roster construction thing. So if Nick is out of the door, somebody else is coming in. I've learned to trust the process when it comes to John's roster construction.
Well, I mean, either way, no matter who's coming in, even if they don't know who's coming in, the bottom line is like the starting five next year was very unlikely to be Cayden, Dame, Nick, Cam Williams, and Pat. That was extremely unlikely to be the starting lineup. Would you guys like to guess who shot the highest percent from three out of Cayden, Darren, Nick, Pat, and Dame in ACC play last year? Who shot the highest percent from three?
Probably Dame.
Not
Right?
Dame.
No.
It wasn't him.
Dame.
It was Nick.
It was not Nick.
Oh, Cayden.
It was not Cayden.
Who else?
So
are
we
you saying?
down to two.
Pat.
I'm about to say it's got to be Pat.
No, what he's in like two.
He took like 6 threes.
He went 4 for 13, but still.
Okay.
The point is, it was like 30%, 30%, 25%, 29%, 31% from three on those five guys, right? So like Duke was going to bring in shooting. They were going to pursue shooting. I mean, even with Bryson Howard coming in, who's a good shooter, you can't go in with just like one shooter. So like then if he's coming in, then it comes down to like, well, that last starter spot is probably Dame or Nick, right? Like that's probably what it's going to be. And Dame is one of if not the best returning defender in college basketball if he comes back next year. I mean, so not to mention, I think when Nick committed to Duke, this is conjecture, this is hypothesis. I do know that like people expected Dame to be one and done last year, and he still could be. He still like might go test, but you know, if he comes back, well, then that leaves Nick, you know, as a sixth man. Now, granted, he'd be a hell of a sixth man, but he was playing well enough at the end of the year to clearly merit starting for a high major team, and for a good high major team at that. Combine that with he's far from home, combine that with like all the stuff, and I don't blame him for putting his name in the portal. I think that if he would like to return to Duke, I would love to see him back. Certainly Dame might test, and if he tests, he might get a promise because he's going to test out the roof if he goes and tests. And so then there would potentially be a starting spot available, you know, and that very easily could be Nick's. I'm not holding my breath for that, but I also understand if Nick just wants to like see his options, put his name in, field some offers, listen to what people are saying. Meanwhile, wait and see what happens with Dame, the rest of the roster. But either way, like there will be a big time shooter, proven shooter, starting next year for Duke. And so that meant it's a logjam. That meant a logjam. And so I'm not surprised to see Nick at least testing the waters.
Let me throw this out here to y'all. Because I had a conspiracy theory that I formulated behind this. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Even though it's not likely that Dame and Isaiah could potentially return because of the strength of this draft class and the weakness of next year's draft class, especially Dame. And I think that when this went into my line of thinking. I'm thinking maybe these conversations have been had like, okay, maybe if we return, we could all be lottery picks. Pat, Dame, Isaiah, all three of those guys could be lottery picks in next year's draft.
Maybe, maybe not. Do you know the list of names of guys who came back to school based on the notion that if they came back, they'd be a lottery pick next year, and then they were a year older and something happened and they didn't quite have things go the way they thought, and then they ended up being second rounders. And then
the proof is in the pudding, though. The proof is in the pudding with this draft. Next year's draft is literally like one of the worst in like decades. It's not going to take much to
it could change though. That's the only thing.
It could change.
Yeah, I just
Like if
I
guys
mean,
develop and if guys, like, and not to mention, it takes one. Ask Ivan Rabb what happened when he came back. Like, and that's a
no,
bit of
I
a
agree.
throwback,
I
but
agree.
like, you know what I
I'm
mean?
just
Like
saying,
there were
I
guys.
want to
All
throw
it takes is
conspiracy theories out there.
if he comes back to school and jumps and lands funny, then all of a sudden he's not in the first round anymore, even in a weak draft. I mean, like,
Now, don't get me
if
wrong.
you
I
if
don't
you
think none of
if
this
you
is
think
that.
you can get a first round thing, now granted, NIL makes it a little more interesting, of course. But like, I think that if you want to be gone and you think you're going to go first round, no matter what, then you're really gambling. Unless you just love Duke, and we know Dame loves Duke. This is getting away from Nick a little bit, but like we know Dame loves Duke. But
No, but that factors into Nick possibly wanting to leave. That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, but back to your point on Isaiah. All indications pointing at Isaiah gone.
yeah,
I'd be stunned.
I mean, him especially. I
I'd
think
love
Isaiah
it,
will be
but I'd
gone.
be stunned.
Yeah.
But I've just followed up on some of the draft boards. Not Nick, Pat or Don Mayer. Neither one of those I guarantee first rounders right now.
Yeah, I think okay. So let's. I mean, we already talked about it. So let's
frankly, but like,
yeah,
guys who want to go will go. And guys who want to stay will stay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it because I mean we're already there because Dame is the discussion. Dame, I think for one, kind of like Russ said, everything I've heard is like, yo, this kid loves Duke. This kid like breeds Duke. Like everything he does at Duke, he's in love with. And it's more so a little bit of his team kind of pushing him to, at least even test. But yeah, him coming in, he wanted to really go to college. Like coming from Barcelona, he was like, I kind of want to take the college route. Even though I know even some of his teammates at Barcelona were telling him, nah, bro, go pro. Just go straight pro. Even I talked to one of them today. He was like, yeah, Dame should just stay in the draft. But I think for one, if I had to guess, I think he's going to enter and test, but come back.
He should do that for sure. Yeah. He should test it out.
But yeah, I do think Duke
tests. But if he tests,
I mean,
this is one thing I know. That those scouts, the feedback he's gonna get, he's got to work on his offensive ability. There's no way he's gonna get into that combine and they're gonna tell him he's fine offensively.
Unless he plays the 5-on-5 and he goes 6 or 7 from
lights
3.
out, like he just has an out of body experience in the screen.
Every year there's guys taken in the 20s because they jumped higher and had faster lateral speed than anybody else, and people go like, I can change him. Like I guarantee there's going to be some Ringer article comparing him to Koulibaly, right? Like that article is going to come out where they're going to be like, well, he can't really shoot and he can't really dribble, but he'll be the best defender and he's a freak athlete, and they can figure it out. Like that kind of thing. And where did he go? Wasn't he like 13, 15?
He was like top 10.
He was top 10. Well, shit. There you go. That's all I'm saying is there are certain GMs that just get super horned up exclusively about like the tools that a guy has. And like,
that's fair.
I think it's not impossible. It's not like, I mean, I know we're going to bring up Alan Graves, later, in the discourse, but like Alan Graves is not an above the rim athlete, right? Like he's not a guy who, when you see the combine, like stats, like the leaping and the side to side and whatever, you're not going to see him and like your jaw is going to be on the floor. If Dame tests, people's jaws will be on the floor. Like he's a freak. So I do think there's always a chance that could happen, which is why, and because we got burned last year by the combine, frankly, I kind of wonder if they're trying to go like, oh, what do you want to do, guys?
That's the thing, though. Cedric Coward went to that combine and shot lights out, and that's what turned everybody's head. Like he literally shot lights out in the combine. Like this particular draft class is so deep with offensive talent. Like it's got what you're saying. You're not wrong about Dame. I just think the chances of that coming to fruition and more scouts being like, hey, wait, look, listen, 15, 16, like you got to get him high. Those chances will come more than likely in next year's draft. The talent is so high in this draft. Like he could get to that combine and test perfectly fine and shoot himself up to 20th at best. Like that's just how deep this class is. Like, so
yeah,
you're right though, because he could go in there and if he's gonna test phenomenally, and if he goes in there and shoots phenomenally, We can kiss him goodbye. Like we can kiss him goodbye.
Even if he doesn't, it takes one team that says we're definitely going to pick you in the first round, and that then just if he wants to go,
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's all it takes.
Right,
If you're here at 24,
that's the thing.
we're gonna take you, bro.
Yeah.
Like
We just have to assign like intention and value, like what he values to a guy where we don't exactly know what he wants. If he goes in, there is always the chance, given that he's a freak athlete. That's all I'm saying. I hope he comes back. I think he'd be awesome.
Nah, it's definitely a good point because I mean teams do, especially when it gets to like the 20s and on, teams aren't drafting for immediate fit. And he does bring an immediate tool of defense to the NBA that people do value on the wing and on the perimeter. And if it's like, yo, he's 19, we draft him, we send him to the G League for a year to work on his game offensively, when we could control that instead of we send him back to Duke. He could get that promise, that could convince him. But like I said, the kid loves Duke. So I think it's going to take a lot. I don't want to say take a lot. It'll take a little bit of a push for him to be like, all right, I'm going to give up another year, to stay. But, also money talks. Money talks. And if you make more than you do as a 24th pick,
but you will. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no way.
For 1
it's
year.
A money thing, he would want to go as high as possible. And his chances to go as high as possible would be in next year's draft. If that's what his main concern is. His main concern could, because there's no way, like, Dame, I'm not even like trying to say this to be funny or to brag on him, but I don't think there's no way possible he could get to the combine and insert himself into the lottery this year. Like, next year, 100% that's on the table. He could be the 5th pick in the draft next year, like somewhere around there. Like, that's like, he won't. I think he could go this is best case scenario. I think everything goes perfectly fine. He'll probably go in the 20 to 25 range if that's best case scenario this year. And I mean, that's guaranteed money though. That's guaranteed money. And if like Russ was saying, if that's just your thing, I just want to get to the NBA, because a lot of things that the NIL, he could potentially get more money for a second season at Duke on NIL, but that's not the goal. He might be thinking, I'm betting big on myself. I just want to get to that second contract as fast as possible, because that's what the decision is about for most of these guys, is getting to that second deal, the big money, the real life-changing money as soon as possible. So if that's what his frame of mind is, then like Russ said, he's going to enter regardless, because he's going to get some type of promise, whether it's factual or not, from a GM like, bro, if you're here at 25.
Well, to get to the second contract, though, you have to make it through your first contract, and generally, to make it through your first contract, your skills have to be really developed, and you have to be able to stick on a floor consistently, for a bunch of time. I think there's a world in which he gets drafted, higher this year than people suspect based on tools. There's one or two guys every draft where people go, how did he go? And it's usually because it's a guy who's a freak athlete. The
NBA drafts on upside. He has a ton of upside.
Yeah. Like Miles Plumlee jumped over the limbo bar or whatever, and he got picked 20th or whatever, and everyone was kind of like, what? And then he's stuck in the NBA for a decade. You know what I mean? Sometimes weird things can happen when you're a freak athlete in the combine, but in terms of sticking in the NBA, I think that making sure that your jump or your handle, whatever, are maximized. And can you maximize that on an NBA floor, or do you maximize that, in college while you're making 1 year of really good money? I think there's a real argument for the latter, especially if he enjoys Duke. I'd love to see him stay. I just can't say with 100% certainty that he will definitely be back if he goes to test. Obviously, if he doesn't go to test, then he's definitely back. But
he should test, by the way. He has to test. Get the feedback. You want to hear exactly what you're saying.
He doesn't have to test. If he knows he wants to be a Duke next year, what is he going to learn at the combine that he doesn't already know?
I mean, because you get direct feedback from the real front office of these teams that it could be just.
But it's not even so much the combine too. It's the individual workouts.
Yeah,
teams.
You want to get
the
feedback more than anything. Yeah.
Teams tell you what exactly they probably want to see from you to get drafted by them specifically.
It's that more than anything.
That's them specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody knows, at least for him, everybody, like, I feel like it's more valuable for people if they are not freak athletes to go into the combine and test, because then you can get a lot of feedback on, okay, you're not somebody who jumps out of the gym. You're not somebody who's going to be a top 50th percentile, lateral speed athlete in the NBA. Here's what we want to see from you in order to take you in the first round. We know what would get Dame taken in the first round right now. It's his defense and his freak athleticism. He knows he has to work on the handle. He knows he has to work on the jumper. Like those are not things that are mysteries to him. And if he goes to the combine and tests, they're going to just say, well, you got to work on your shot. You got to work on your, like he already knows those things. I think that in the same way that like Slim didn't go test last year, right? Like, and Slim's not a freak athlete, but like Slim knew what the feedback was going to be. And so he came back and didn't bother because he knew he wanted
He did declare for like 2 days, but it was 2 days.
Sure, yeah. But like, you know what I mean? So like, I don't know. I think it's more valuable for guys who are maybe sub-median athleticism to hear that feedback than it is for somebody like Dame, who everyone will know what the scouting report is.
You're right about that. But the thing is, NBA in 2026 is everybody's a freak athlete for the most part. Like when we were growing up, Dame's athleticism was a specialty. Now it's the bare minimum. You have to have this. Like, you know what I mean? So he'll be one of many freak athletes. And you're right. He kind of already knows exactly what he has to work on generally. But it's just something about hearing a scout from like, okay, let's say you're working out and you're working out for the Kings. And it's something about hearing the scout for the Kings saying, look, we really like you to fit with our roster, to fit with this guy, but we need you to specifically work on this part right here. If you work on this part right here and you're back and this position, then like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I guess it's one of those things that just make people feel better to hear it directly from the horse's mouth. You know what I mean? Because you're right. It's not like the whole world don't know what Dame need to work on before he enters that like process. You know what I mean? But I don't know. The thing about it is like Zion brought it up, and like it's mainly going to come down to how much he loves Duke, because he's been vocal about the NBA being his goal, so we know he wants to play there. But it's one of those things like, yes, you could go and potentially be a first round guy, you know what I mean, but be a first round guy that's a two-way guy. You're like, you know what I mean? All first round guys don't get minutes, but you're still in the pipeline, the NBA pipeline. But that's a lot different from being year 2 college basketball player, where you still got to go to class and you still got to do enough of studying, like to maintain eligibility. Like it's just a whole different world. Like, do you love Duke enough to endure that type thing? Because like I said, if it does, this will come out better for him. Like there's no way like he could get drafted this year, but nobody can really argue the fact that if he comes back next year, hands down, he's going higher. It's not even close. He's going.
But that's still contingent on him improving a lot.
100%, Zion. 100%. It's never linear. It is never.
No,
ever,
but so we don't. So, but I mean, but that kind of goes into the whole idea of we want you back, or anybody would want a year 2 guy back to see what you improve on, your improvement level, year 2, year 3, or whatever, so on. So we kind of. But you're right. You can never kind of like assume that guys are just going to naturally get better, you know. But I think we kind of all look at that with the intent of like, okay, year 1 Dame was this, and Dame showed improvement as the year got on. I would be excited to see what he looked like year 2, you know, with the whole summer working under his belt. So, but you're right. He does have to actually come back and get better. It can't just be like talk.
No.
There are so many players who I can think of who, after freshman year, people assume sophomore year, and they're like, "Oh, this is a lottery guy. This is a lottery guy." We've had them at Duke, and then it just doesn't quite work out that way. Which
usually you are who you are.
You know, life's journey is what it is. But like again, especially for a guy who's a freak athlete, God forbid, again, if he got like an injury of some sort, because we've seen guys who returned to school and got hurt.
Yeah.
Then his skills need to be really, really sharp, man. Like, I don't know. I mean, like, it's a real question. I mean, like, before NIL, he's the sort of guy who I would have said, you have to go. But now
it's the same thing with Pat, too. Like the whole injury like the injury aspect.
Pat's a weirder debate, frankly.
It
Pat's
is.
a strange.
So
case.
let's talk about Pat. Let's move on to Pat.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on Pat's situation? Obviously, I think given health, if it was a healthy, if he had a healthy season, he's more likely to go at this point. I think that's kind of what is tricky right now, and whether he's staying or going.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really weird situation given his sort of history of foot stuff, like below the knee stuff, I should say. Like I man, like on one hand, look, here's the argument for and the argument against, right? The argument for is if somebody wants to take him first round now, then you get the insurance of the multi-year deal right now, right? You get that, now he still has to be able to perform at the NBA. I think he would. I think he was fantastic this year. I think he's an NBA caliber player without question.
For sure.
But, there will be, I mean, we've seen like Vicini and some other people, say like that scouts or whomever else, they bring up injury concerns in terms of like, knocking his stock down a little bit. If he's still a first rounder, then, I understand why he might go in order to sort of leverage that. I also understand the argument of if he can have a whole season where he is healthy, then, and again, but if he can have a whole season where he's healthy, then obviously that will do wonders for his stock. And as Jamahal has been saying, with next year's class being thinner, then maybe if you're going to take a gamble like that, then this is the dynamic in which maybe a player like Pat might consider doing so, right? I think that Duke is going to do everything they can to have a lot of big men on the roster next year, or a lot of guys with size who could theoretically play some center minutes, to maybe alleviate some of the physical burden that Pat obviously had to shoulder this year, being really the sole true rim protector on the roster. I think they're gonna look into that and make sure that some of that burden's alleviated. Jesus, that truck is really loud. But
keep going.
But the point being, I don't think there's a wrong decision for him to make. I would love to see him back at Duke. I mean, I think he's really only scratching the surface. And next year, like this was ostensibly his freshman year, given that he played so little his actual freshman year, right? In terms of on-court production, this was basically his freshman year, So like next year, we could really see a big leap from him. Certainly, Duke would ask a lot of him next year for his minutes when he's on the floor. I think it'd be really, really cool to see him get more appreciated than maybe he was this year. I think he went underappreciated, but I won't blame him either way. But I guess to Zion's point also, how is he going to be able to test and do some of the stuff that teams in the NBA are going to want him to do if he's still like beat up from this year / recovering from whatever, offseason stuff he's doing to ameliorate those injuries. So who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just it's tricky with him because his injury history could send him either way. Like I could see both sides of the argument. I could see him and his family deciding, hey, look, I don't want to risk anything else. Because one thing I know about Pat, which like I said, I've just looked at some draft boards. They don't have him guaranteed first round, but Pat's a first round type talent. Like there is no, like, even if he goes like early second round or whatever, like Pat will make a roster. Pat will get NBA rotational minutes. Like he is essentially what the NBA is looking for in a 5, like with his skill set and his size and everything. So I'm not worried about that. I know if Pat gets into the pipeline, he'll be fine. That could be the thing about, like I said, they could be thinking about, I just want to get to that sooner. I don't want to run any more risks with you getting more. Yeah, you could come back next year. The class could be weaker, but what if you knock on wood, everybody, break your foot or something, and you got to miss the rest of, like, you know what I mean? And now it's multiple years of injury history. Now the scouts are going to be worried to draft. Now it's question marks going to be around it for real. But I could also see him and saying, like Russ was saying, like, I didn't even really think about that. When he just said it, it dawned on me, like, he might not even be able to work out in the draft process. Like, we don't know how Duke is so tight-lipped about what really happened to him. Like, I don't know. Like, he might get off-season surgery. We might find that out. And he can't go through the draft process or, like, the combine process. And that might, by default, bring him back. I mean, I don't know. It's tricky, but I do know this, that his presence for another year would be huge for Duke. Like, I felt like with Russ, like Russ just said, we were just scratching the surface with how good that he can be. So I would love to see him back. I would honestly, he's the one guy that I literally could see it either way. I could see the injuries and him looking at the injuries and being like, nope, I don't want to do this no more. Let me go to the money fast enough. Or nope, let me go ahead and prove to y'all that I'm not an injury prone type guy so I can like increase my stock. So I don't know.
Yeah. That kind of, I mean, we'll talk about it later too with this potential additions we can have. But would you even say, does that kind of scare you as a fan now with this? Because this injury, you brought up injury history. Like, what if he has a bigger injury next year? Only problem is he already has the injury history. I'm pretty sure he had surgery in college.
Yeah, this in high school too. Yeah, in high school. Yep.
Yeah. And then obviously
for the most part.
Yeah. And then before he got to Duke, I think he had like a cleanup procedure. Don't hold me to that because I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, he's had injuries that he's kind of had to fight through already.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a fan, does that worry you now? Given we don't have Malik Brown, and obviously maybe we add someone.
Yeah, it's something to think about. It's concerning. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also think that's why the emphasis is being like the emphasis in this transfer portal. That word be kicking my ass every year. The emphasis in this transfer portal season is seemingly adding size, like just more big bodies. Like that was the one detriment. A lot of people thought, me included. I just did not like the front court depth. I love the way the team, and that's just something that concerned me all year. No matter how dominant we look, I just didn't like the fact that it was just Malik and Pat. And Malik is not even really a big man. Malik is more of a wing size. So that does concern me as a Duke fan. But like I said, I know that's paramount adding size this year. So
yeah,
I know we'll get that supplemented fine.
I mean, we'll see what decision he makes. It'll definitely, his decision is major in the fact that I think it will decide how much Duke puts into their front court in terms of like attacking, who they should get.
Because seriously, does like Flory's coming this weekend, right? I just read like
Flory's coming on Sunday.
Yeah, I ain't mean to jump the gun. My fault.
No, you good.
But that makes Pat's decision like nobody trying to rush you, bro. But like,
yeah,
we need some of these dominoes to fall because like I can't imagine Flory is coming to be a backup, and I can't imagine Duke would pay that price to get Flory to bring him in as a backup.
Yeah. What I missed because I had to run and
when I jump in
with my car. What happened? What did I miss?
When I jump in, we're just talking about Pat. We'll jump to.
I heard you said should Duke fans be concerned about the history?
Yeah, we're talking about Pat's injury history.
I'm not that concerned because I think Duke will address it in a more meaningful way this year. I'm not sure. Like again, having Malik, who's a brilliant defender but not really a true rim protector, as your backup center.
Yeah,
I don't see that for next year. I see Duke going after, and obviously some of the names that we'll discuss. If we land one of them, that's Jesus trucks. That's more. That's more of what we'll see next year as an actual guy. Not to mention Cam Williams is a real shot blocker or whatever. He's not as sturdy. But there's going to be more depth inside for guys who can play center minutes next year, who can alleviate some of Pat's burden. I feel very confident in that.
For sure. I don't think we really have to talk about Isaiah because I mean, if we all have to,
everybody just automatically he gone.
Yeah, I think it's kind of obvious. Like,
I'd love him back if he wants to come back. I
said to people on TikTok the other day, I'm more sure that he's leaving than Cam is at this point. But you know,
I mean that's probably fair. Probably fair.
yeah, I'm probably more sure that Isaiah's gone than Cam.
That's probably fair. That's definitely fair because Duke isn't heavily going after John Blackwell if Isaiah's coming back. So they're moving
Right.
with the assumption that Isaiah's gone. So if he changes his mind last minute, hallelujah. But I don't expect it to happen.
Me neither. I would love it though.
Yeah. I guess the big one.
Perfect world.
I guess we could combine these two because they play the same position. Caleb Foster and Cayden Boozer. What
Do
are
they
y'all
play the same position?
No, they don't, because Caleb Foster's a 2 guard. I've been saying this since he came
at Duke last season. They played the same position.
Yeah.
We know, we know what the situation is there, especially with Rippy coming in next year. But what are your expectations? Obviously, we can't be oblivious. Like we can't act, like there are the rumors on the timeline. There isn't some smoke towards a possible Caleb Foster departure. So what are your thoughts on that?
I'd be surprised if they're both back.
Me too.
Just purely from a minutes perspective. I mean, like maybe, like Rippy is just. I want Rippy in a Duke uniform very badly. I don't think that Duke, given that they were also recruiting Smitty and Rippy committed first. I don't think that. Like, if they really wanted to decide between Rippy and Smitty and they weren't sure and they kind of liked Smitty more, then they would have been like, Rippy, can we, let's do a little dance here. Let's, I think that they feel very, very comfortable with what Rippy is going to bring and are excited about what he's going to bring to Duke. There's only one ball, guys. There's only one ball. And I think the discourse on this is going to be terrible. I can already tell because Cayden made a big mistake at the end of the final game. And for whatever reason, people ignore the fact that he played a brilliant game until that mistake. And Caleb had the incredible big-hearted performance that he did to get us to the Elite Eight. And he's had a few big-hearted performances over the course of his career at Duke. And so if one of them is gone, and especially if Caleb, the older player, because people really garner a lot more affection towards the older players. I think
it's rare we get a 4-year Duke guy, bro.
People are gonna be weird about it. It's gonna be the Jeremy Roach thing all over again if that happens. Most important for next year's roster, given the stuff that I discussed earlier, if we've got Cayden, if we've got Sarr, if we've got Cam Williams, if we've got Pat or some 5 if Pat decides to leave, you have to have a guy in that 2-guard spot who can score 15, 16 points per game on high-volume 3, who can shoot good free throws, who can self-create reliably, who can do basically the things that Isaiah did this year, right? You need an Isaiah. And if Isaiah is gone, then you need somebody who can fill that role. Caleb is an awesome player at what he does. I don't think he's ideally suited to fill that role, or at least in terms of his production over 3 years, he has yet to prove that he can fill that role in terms of production to that extent, which is why I think we're seeing Duke pursuing shooters in the portal, like John Blackwell, like some of the other people who have been named. I don't know. But that's also really hard because it's also not fair to a guy like Caleb who has given so much for the university to just say to him, hey, come back and be our 7th man.
Thanks. See you later.
Thanks. Yeah. Why don't you come back and play 16 minutes a game? That's not fair to him. But then it's just not
we gotta at some point in time, we gotta my best friend has this saying, once the money comes in, we can't treat these guys like kids anymore. They're not kids. They're professionals.
Well, it's not about treating them like kids, but it is about treating them like human beings, right?
Yeah.
I do think that we can feel one kind of way in terms of our heart about how we've seen this guy give his blood, sweat, and tears for the program for 3 years, while also realizing that Duke is pursuing people in the portal to fill a specific role that, like, you know, at least in terms of proven production, he has not been able to deliver. You know, I forget how many times. I mean, I looked it up, but like I think he's scored over 15 points, maybe something like 6 times in his Duke career, something like this. You know, and we're really looking for a guy in that 2-guard spot who can score it on a night in, night out basis.
Yeah.
Like that's, you know, so again,
to be fair to Caleb, though, he has been playing out of position his entire time at Duke. He is a shooting guard. He's always been a shooting guard, and like that's just what his skill set.
Yeah.
It's hard to adjust, like, as a basketball player to a role that you haven't been playing. He from the day he stepped at the Duke.
I want to push back on that. He's a combo. He's like a combo shooter. He's a guy who needs the ball in his hand shooting guard, though, right? Like he's not I don't think he's like an off ball guy. I know occasionally he's done that, but like he's not really an off ball guy. He's an on ball guy. So that's where it becomes tricky when we say like, oh, well, Caleb's a 2-guard, because then people hear that and go, oh, well, then Cayden's the point guard and Caleb's the 2-guard. Simple. But there's one ball. Like, and I know that sometimes Duke has run 2 ball handler action things before. But like that's why I sort of lean instead on like the production, like on the sheer level of production and Isaiah Evans' level of production and efficiency combo. And that's why Duke is obviously looking at a John Blackwell who shot 39% from 3 on like 7-8 attempts a game, who shot like 86% from the free throw line. I don't have these numbers in front of me. Who played really good defense at Wisconsin, who maybe was a little less efficient at the rim last year than he was his sophomore year at Wisconsin, but who can really finish at the rim, something that Caleb has not consistently been able to do, unfortunately. I mean, like these are things that make like one guy sort of suited to partner with an existing guy than the other, you know. Now, like, God forbid if like Cayden wasn't back, then like maybe things change. Right, like, and maybe that opens up a conversation in a different direction. But like Cayden Boozer just showed at the end of the year that honestly, maybe he could be a guy who could score 15 points a game. I mean, like he's got that in his bag. I think he did close to that down the stretch. So it really sucks. And so again, like I know that it's going to be terrible discourse, but like
it's going to be horrible.
We can love. We can ache for like what not has to happen, but we can ache for what is fair to the guy, you know, because asking a guy to come back and play less than he played this year, I don't think is fair.
Let me ask y'all this: is it a decision like you think the decision is basically Caleb as the backup or Cayden as the backup with Rippy as the starting one, or do you think the decision is Caleb or Cayden starting, and then which one of you guys could be opposite of Deron Rippy, like that type thing? Like, is it? And basically, what I'm asking is, are we sure that Rippy's the odd guy out in the lineup? And that's
in terms of coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's coming off the bench behind Cayden, probably. Yeah. You know, but like in terms of odd guy out between Cayden, Caleb, and Rippy, I mean, like Rippy serves a very clear role, in my opinion. His role is so well defined and so clear that I don't really have a problem with that. It really is more is there room for all three and somebody to play an Isaiah Evans-esque role like a John Blackwell? And the answer to that is I think logistically probably not. So then the question becomes, who's the odd man out? And yeah, I don't. It's just going to be hard. No matter what happens, it's going to be hard. It's just going to be hard.
It's going to suck. It's really going to suck because Caleb has become, which is wild. He's somewhat become a fan favorite, like towards the end of the year, like which he was one of the more polarizing guys to start the year. The discourse around him changed dramatically once we got to the end of the season. So for him not to be able to, like, I think I said it on this show, his senior night is going to be epic. His senior night applause and the amount of love that guy would have got for a senior night at Duke would have been like second to none, in my opinion, because we don't even get a lot of senior nights, like real legitimate senior nights. Yeah. But I don't know. Like, I kind of wonder if these conversations have been had, if it's just like, because we don't know. I do appreciate Duke for being this tight-lipped. We don't need everybody in our business, even though it's frustrating as fans. That, like, there's got to be some smoke behind this Caleb stuff. And I'm thinking that if it's some smoke behind it, it's because John was just flat out like, look, I can't guarantee you minutes over none of these guys type stuff. And like what Russ said, to be truthful, bro, you might be the seventh man next year. Like, you know what I mean? That, as unfair as that is,
I don't even think, but I do think that was the pitch. Like when everyone has their exit interviews, it's not from a standpoint of like, yo, you know, John is telling them get out. You know, I know there's a lot of pages right now. Also, probably should have addressed that. A lot of pages right now on the internet.
So much,
you know, a lot of aggregating pages, and then a lot of pages, you know, who are just tweeting out a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
There's no
some fraudsters. Is that what you're gonna say? Some fraudsters.
You might
there's a lot of beef going on. This Porter done brought a lot of beef with the media.
Oh
bro.
yeah. Even Jonathan Givney, we can say his name. Man,
there's real smoke out here in these
Joe Tipton.
Transfer
but like, you know, I do think the pitch to Caleb is you know, it's not guaranteed. And I don't think that's ever John is never the type of guy to guarantee minutes. No. But you know, it has to be a decision both ways, like, you know. And I think Caleb probably also, if he does make that decision where I have to go, it's like, yo, I finally have an opportunity to maybe, you know, have the keys to, you know, an offense, you know, and play 30 minutes and be able to get up 15 shots, you know, and be, you know, show my scoring ability so I can further my pro career. So it's definitely, you know, I know people think it's like, yo, John, tell him get out. It's also a decision. It's a decision both ways, you know. You know, whether Caleb, obviously Caleb loves Duke. We all know he loves Duke. But you know, he also has to make a decision that's best for his career, not his, you know, emotional feeling. So, you know, we'll see what that decision is. But yeah, kind of like to Russ's point, Rippy, I feel like is the guy, like, you know, that wouldn't be the odd man out in this situation, especially given that he's given us a dynamic that we kind of haven't seen at Duke in a while. And just even his ability to break down the defense and get downhill, his athleticism may go down as, if not the most athletic Duke point guard we ever seen. He's definitely going to be top 3, just in sheer athleticism. And you know, I think Duke kind of needs that switch up from, you know, a guy, you know, like Cayden, who is a pass first point guard, but doesn't really play off of athleticism. It's straight IQ, you know, pace and skill. Russ is smiling. Did something happen? Did something happen live with it?
No, I just somebody just pointed out in the new in the new followers, in the new people that Flory is following on Instagram. He's following Cayden now.
Just now?
Yeah, I mean, I guess recently, according to this. Now, that doesn't necessarily. We've seen in the past sometimes they follow and then they don't, you know, and vice versa. But
yeah.
You know,
but I mean,
and certainly John Blackwell is following some Illinois people.
Yeah, I literally about to say that. I just saw that while we was up here. Like, damn it, I ain't want to spoil it or nothing. But you know,
but apparently,
too much into that.
I don't want to dive too much into that. But also, John Blackwell apparently followed Flory today. So, you know.
This is that time of the year for speculation, you know what I mean?
This is all the fun. I guess since we're already there, man, let's get into it, because people are gonna want to be like, oh, you know, enough of the guys that are already Dookies.
Everybody want to hear the juice, the dirt, bro. You know what I mean?
Juice.
Let's get to the juice of the transfer portal era. Like, let's go.
The juice. So we're going to talk about a couple prospects that are rumored, maybe just some we like as well. I know even Alan Graves popped into the portal today. That is someone I'll give credit. I'll rarely give credit to Russ. I rarely give credit to Russ, but I give credit to Russ because he's been on Alan Graves since like September. So, he'll take over that portion.
It'd be a big victory lap if it happens. I'm still not sure it would happen, but like I posted for people who don't know, I posted a while back, like months ago, that I was really enamored. Again, being a West Coast guy, I get to watch some WCC ball, and I was like, oh man, this guy, like his blocks, his steals, his boards, he kind of shoot. It's like Malik on defense, a little Pat on offense. It's like a little like, there's some interesting stuff there. I was like, I don't think he's the sort of athlete that would immediately like make a freshman jump to the pros necessarily. Like he might still test it out, but he's a below the rim guy for sure. So like I was like, man, there's a lot of promise here. I don't know. And then like we started hearing like a few weeks after that, somebody was like, hey, maybe he might be portaling. There might be some stuff going on. And I was like, oh God, please, Lord, please. Will it happen? I don't know. I mean, again, whoever knows in this portal era, but it would be super cool.
Yeah, you'll get your trophy for that one if it happens. But first guy we could jump into is probably the guy who came up first in the rumor mill, and that's John Blackwell from Wisconsin, shooting guard, averaged 19.1 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2.3 assists on 43, 39, 86 shooting splits, hit 96 threes this year. But without a doubt, shout out to Jamin, I think he found the stats on this. The best catch and shoot shooter in the country, statistically. I forgot the percentage. I think it was like 67%. And
catch and shoot threes?
Yes.
League, bro.
I may be messing up that stat. It might be wide open threes. Wide open threes. He was 67%.
Either way, because we generate a lot of wide open looks.
Yeah, wide open threes. He was 67%, and I think Isaiah in reference was 40%. Go ahead, Russ.
No, but he's just the real deal. I mean, like anybody who watched that Wisconsin win over Michigan this year, I mean, knows what Blackwell brings to the table. I think one of the only criticisms of his game this year was maybe finishing at the rim was not as much his strong suit this year, but also like their offense was not really predicated upon that. It was so 3-point predicated. And furthermore, I mean, like he was really good at it sophomore year. I forget what the exact numbers are, but like his percentile sophomore year of finishing. I mean, there's a nice finish right there, right? I mean, like,
he had a game win in that game, right? Ended the game, hit the shot at the buzzer.
Yeah.
He hit at least one game winner, and he hit multiple big clutch jump shots for them. I mean, like he's just a big time scorer and a big time player. I mean, like this is a guy who, if Duke would be lucky enough to have him, in their employ, I mean, he's an immediate like preseason. I don't know if he's necessarily all ACC first team. I'd have to go through and look at who everybody gets in the portal and everything else. But like, he's an all ACC, some sort of team caliber player. I mean, he made Big Ten all third team, I believe. The stats are what they are. And again, we're talking about a guy who can handle, who can shoot free throws, who is rugged defensively. Like he's a tough defender in addition to everything else. And also, I mean, like you can sort of see like in these clips, if you're watching the video, he's not a lean guy. Like he's not Nate James, but like he's got muscle on him. He's a dog. So, I mean, this is a guy who we'd be very, very fortunate to have in a Duke uniform. He'd be a perfect replacement for Slim, assuming that Slim goes pro. He'd fill into that role perfectly. I mean, what else is there to say?
I have the stats fixed. 95th percentile catch and shoot, 44% from three. And unguarded shots, so wide open shots, 67% from three this season. That's ridiculous.
That's still like elite numbers.
That's what Slim would shoot on contested threes. Slim was the opposite. Slim hit 100% of his threes if there was somebody draped all over him.
Yeah.
I really want this kid, man. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of feel like I'm being disloyal to Caleb even saying that. like seriously, like I'm just giving like my real feelings as a fan, just because I'm a real fan and like I try to look objectively. Like I can be objective about things, but I'm a real fan of the guys on the team. That's just a guy that I just genuinely root for. I feel like I'm really being disloyal to him by saying I really want John Blackwell, because I know there's no way Duke can have John Blackwell and Caleb Foster. I know that. Like I'm not an unrealistic guy, so I don't want to but this is a results business, bro. You know what I mean? It's a results business, and I really want Duke to land this guy. But I mean, it remains to be seen.
I will say, I think it's very clear, even from his numbers catching, shooting, and shooting wide open shots, like where Duke is trying to go with this. Obviously, Deron Rippey is a guard that's going to get downhill easily, draw a lot of attention. Cayden at this point, Cayden, like I said, I think he's one of the best finishing point guards we've seen in a while at Duke, getting down here at the rim. So if you have a guy like John Blackwell spotting up for the most part, and obviously they'll use him more in different ways than just spotting up, but I think Duke is trying to take advantage of the guards they have, point guards they could have, getting downhill and kicking out to a guy like him, who's essentially an automatic shooter, which we didn't kind of have. Like Isaiah obviously was a great shooter, a little bit inconsistent, streaky at times, not as good.
That brought gravity more than anything.
Yeah. So, to have someone who's essentially an automatic wide open bucket from the perimeter, I think is important for Duke, especially with the guys you could have, Cam Williams, another guy who could stretch the floor. And then if, they do land these other guys, maybe you have a little bit more rim running options, guys who are lob threats. I think it'll be a more people will have more defined roles next year in the offense versus last year. I think people did have defined roles, but a lot of it was built around Cam Boozer being the guy who he is. And, it's kind of like you're going to make a play, secondary play after Cam Boozer, makes a decision, which now I think it's going to be a little bit more of a team. Like, Cayden's going to be the guy to break down the defense. Deron Rippey will break down the defense. Blackwell, you shoot. If it's Blackwell, if it's Bryson Howard, you're in the game. We need you to shoot the ball. Pat, if it's Pat coming back, you'll still be the playmaker from the top of the key, but probably need you to be a little bit more of a low post threat next year. So, I love this addition. I am worried because he doesn't finish as well at the rim, and I'm hoping that probably gets better with his senior year.
But then again,
I forget his sophomore year, his numbers were really good at finishing at the rim. I'll pull those up while Jamal talks.
I'm not as concerned about it. But just for the simple fact that the other two guards we have already on the roster, in Rippey and Cayden Boozer, I'm pretty sure they'll be amongst the top guards as far as finishing at the basket in college basketball next season. We all know what on this level what Cayden Boozer was able to do in his minutes. I think Deron Rippey is just as elite as the finisher, probably more elite because he has more options to finish around the rim than Cayden Boozer.
I won't say he's more elite, but I think he can be.
But this is what
Cayden was one of the best. Cayden was one of the best finishers in terms of freshman guards in college basketball.
No, I mean Rippey. I'm talking about Rippey.
Yeah. No, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, Rippey, I would be very, very surprised if Rippey finishes at the rim at the same efficacy as Cayden this year. I'd be floored.
Yeah,
there's almost given the size difference, there's almost no way.
But I don't know. Rippey, the tools are there, bro. Like for him to be there, like that's one of the things that, not even just that I've been extremely impressed with Deron Rippey. Is not just the athletic finishing, it's the ability to adjust midair and still finish. Also, I don't think he's getting the credit he deserves for the ability, like the type of passer he is. His passing ability is
off a great passer.
Off the charts. So I don't know. I feel like those two guys can finish pretty well around the rim, and Rippy and Boozer. So whatever Blackwell could give us, if we land Blackwell, it would just be a bonus for me as far as finishing around the rim. Because I'm like we're saying, I think that if we bring him in, even though we will take finishing around the rim, mainly we will be counting on what you see in these clips. That first clip, him hitting from behind that line. That's mainly what we're gonna need more of that from him, and not even just that, just the ability to put the ball in the hole consistently. Period. Which he can do that. He's had really big scoring games this past season, like huge scoring nights.
I think the ability for the guards to finish at the rim is going to be really important, given how many like big men and like guys who want to dunk and catch lobs we're going to have. Like you have to be able to, keep defenders honest if you're going in there. Yeah. And like this year we had two players under 60% at the rim. It was Dame 57.4% at the rim, and then Caleb, who's at 45.6% at the rim. Blackwell this year 58.8% at the rim, so already like better than Caleb and Dame this year. And this year obviously wasn't his
best.
This
is supposed to be a down year, yeah.
The year before he was closer to 66% at the rim. On pretty good field goal attempts, like over a third of his shots were at the rim his sophomore year, and so to finish at 76th percentile, almost 66% on those attempts, is really promising. I think, again, that's more in line with like what Cayden did this year. In fact, that's slightly better than what Cayden did this year. So, I think the promise is all there. And again, I don't know why that number sunk this year. I'd have to watch a lot more Wisconsin basketball than I did. I watched a few games, but not all of them. But they were such a perimeter-oriented offense. Like they were real spread, kick, etc. That I wonder how much of that is.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, I guess. But like, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. It'll just be such a different offense that Duke runs next year with him there, and there'd be so much gravity towards the inside, right? And towards big men, towards dunkers, towards lob threats, that Wisconsin wasn't really playing nearly as much. That I think that sort of changes a lot of that outlook. It probably opens things up for him a lot, certainly. And more to the point of what we were talking about before with Cayden and roster fit and everything else. I mean, this is a guy that creates gravity on the outside to give space to the guys on the inside, which is of like utmost importance. So I really do hope that they can seal the deal and get a guy like this on the roster. Steal him from keep him from going to Illinois. Get him to Duke. I would love to see it. I would very much love to see it.
Sure. What are you about to say?
It's Duke in Illinois, according to the stuff that I read. So,
yeah, that's the rumor. Duke in Illinois. And I guess the latest update is. Oh, that wasn't Flory. That was Blackwell. That was
Blackwell following Illinois players now. I just saw that a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah. That. I don't believe much in that, but we'll see. We'll see. The next guy we'll talk about, speaking of, Flory Bidunga. Now, Jamahal, I want you to start this off because you have a take that I wanted to talk about already on the show. So when you said it pre-show, I was like, okay, we're heading in the right direction. But yeah, go ahead. What's your thoughts
about Flory?
Flory. Yeah, Flory.
Okay, so I really, really like Flory. I think the appeal for Flory is more behind the name than anything. I think Flory is really good at being athletic, being a disruptor. But the one thing that scares me about Flory, and which is why I'm not gonna say, like I said, if Duke picks or if he picks Duke and end up committing, I'm not gonna be like mad. But the one thing that I'm really like that's got me wanting to stay away from Flory is he's incredibly limited offensively. And look at these clips. You're not gonna see nothing outside of 10 feet. He's not gonna do anything outside of 10 feet. And could you develop that? Yeah, I'm one of the guys that's I'm big on if you can develop anything, it's a spot up jumper or something like that. Like that can be developed with just consistent work in the gym. It's just that Flory 6'9". Yes, he does play a lot bigger than 6'9" most of the time. But I don't care how much bigger you play. You can't, like, 6'9" is 6'9". It is.
Brother, this guy stinks.
It is what it is. I don't care how big. Like, yes, he's 6'9" with a 44-inch vert or whatever. I ain't even seen it tested. I looking at him, he jumps out of the gym, so he probably plays more like 7'1", but he's still not 7'1". He's still 6'9", and he's limited at 6'9". If I'm gonna have a 6'9" stretch 5, I need you to be a stretch 5. Like, I just need you to be more of a stretch guy. But like I said, I'm not gonna be upset if Flory picks Duke. I'm not gonna be like, oh my gosh, like this sucks for us. But it's just some things about Flory, honestly, that I can't get all the way.
You prefer who?
Yeah, I if you ask me, I would prefer Masamba Diop. But
And why is that? Because he's 7'1".
Because he is 7'1", and I see Russ. But because he is 7'1", and also his ability on the wing, it's just more there. It's just more there, more potential, more upside. You do know what you're getting out of Flory, and this value in knowing exactly what you're getting out of a player. I don't want to ignore that. It's a lot of value in that. But I don't know. I'm enamored with Diop, bro. The rim protection is apples to apples, I guess. The ability to guard on the wing is apples to apples.
Is it apples to apples too?
Yes, it is.
Flory averaged more blocks.
Listen, yo, I don't want to make this seem like I'm saying Flory sucks or nothing like that.
No. You prefer somebody else.
No. It's Flory probably would be like the third guy, man. And I know we're going big game hunting as far as looking for bigs. If it's me though, Flory probably would be the third guy, honestly. That I would go after. I would go after Diop. I would go after Cayden, who was Dame's teammate. The 7'1" thing intrigues me, and the mobility intrigues me. But like I said,
Russ has walked off.
I get it because, and I know why a lot of people feel like this. It's because Flory is more of a name, but offensive versatility means and it means a lot to John and the staffs that he's put together. The offensive versatility thing matters. You can act like it don't. It matters, bro. So that's my take.
Yeah. He has a name. He's also a first-team All Big 12 guy and the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year in the most physical conference in college basketball. But sure, yes, he's just a name.
That's
Look, I don't think it is part of it. I think that, proven production is part of it. He's one of the best shot blockers in college basketball at the highest level. He's one of the best offensive rebounders in college basketball at the highest level. He plays with a nonstop motor at a high level. He's one of the best defenders in college basketball, without question. He plays his wingspan and his athleticism. He doesn't play 6'9". If I hear another person say that he's 6'9" or 6'10" or 6'8" or whatever people want to claim,
because that's what he is. That's what he is.
You put him next to a guy who's 7 feet tall and have them both put their arms up like this, and you tell me who's shorter. You know what I mean? He's not blocking shots with his head. He's blocking shots with his hands and his arms. You know what I mean? And he can get his hands and his arms to the top of the effing backboard. You know what I mean? He is fine in that regard, and he's so sturdy as a defender. You can't just push him around. You can't back him down. It doesn't really matter what his size is.
No, you're not backing him down. You're right about it.
When you're 6'9", 6'10", and you're 240 of pure muscle, and you can jump, 10'8" or whatever, then it doesn't. None of that matters to me. His timing is impeccable as a rim protector. His lob catching ability is second to none. You brought up Diop. I mean, he only shot 5% worse from the free throw line than Diop did. He's not that far out. I realized that Diop took 23s or whatever this year to Flory's 2, but Flory's not doing that anyway. He's going to be at the dunker spot if Pat's back, if they want to do a Flory Pat lineup, which we can talk about. But if there are two bigs, then you're going to put a different big up at the top. You're going to have a high-low action in which Flory is the guy catching the lobs on the inside because he can jump higher than anybody else, and his second jump is going to be better than anyone else that you see on a college basketball floor next season. I think that we can talk about fit with somebody like a Pat later, but like in terms of purely like a center prospect, and a pure center prospect, to me, him and Graves, who are very, very different, who are very, very different in basically every way. I think that those are by far and away your top two prospects. Cayden is so raw. Job isn't coming anyway, so it doesn't matter. And also, I don't think he's as good as either of the guys I just named. The Italian Wemby is raw, even though he's really cool in a lot of ways. There were some other names that have been floated out there, but like, it's Flory, it's Graves. Like, to me, those are the only two names. You want one of those two guys in a Duke uniform next year, and you do whatever it takes to get them, and then you can tailor the rest of the lineup accordingly. Or if Pat leaves, maybe you try to get both. Maybe you get Fancy Boy and you try to get both. I don't know.
And that's what that's a lot. That has a lot to do with it for me. Is Pat here or not? Because I don't think Flory's the best fit with Patrick. I just don't.
Yeah.
There's a school of thought. I look. I tend to generally agree that what you probably want is a second shooter out there with Blackwell. Cayden and Dame are not shooters.
Absolutely,
are not proven shooters. So I understand that. I do think that Cayden has upside given his free throw acumen, and given that, generally I think he's good at knocking down open ones, more or less. Yeah. And Dame obviously has value in the corner, so he's not a dud from three. If you put him in the corner, he can make those. So again, he's not a pure. I know his stats were like 30%, but in the corner they were like 40%. So as long as you put him in the right spot, then you still have another shooting threat out there. Clearly, the argument, because it's been reported by multiple people out there, that Duke would at least kick the tires on sort of a too big system with a Flory and a Pat, or with a whatever else that would be like a pitch, right? Clearly, Michigan had that going this year. Florida, you could argue, had that going the year before and also this year. Florida, frankly, didn't even have shooting around this year. Didn't have shooting around the bigs that much, and yet still did quite well. They got a 1 seed. So I think there's real. Sorry, guys.
Take the call.
She keeps trying to call. Let me call back later. I think that there's real value to like trying something like this, given how successful these lineups were, and obviously given the success of Houston over the last couple of years as well. Like, be the best offensive rebounding team in the country, be the best team at the rim in the country, make it so that you're getting 50% of your offensive boards. Also, Flory is a better passer than like I think people give him credit for. Like, he's not a dud. He's not a guy like that. He's not necessarily Pat as a passer, but he can pass. I think he can do some high-low stuff. He's not taking guys off the balance, but like that wouldn't be his role anyway. Like, you're looking at like a Merez and a Mara type situation, right? Like, that's kind of the argument.
The thing about that, both of them are. Yeah.
But if you have two of the 4 best centers in college basketball, then I'm kind of inclined to wave my hand at it and go, okay, we'll figure it out. Because like, people questioned Florida trying to play like all 3 of those big guys at once, and it worked out fine. People questioned Michigan, and it worked out fine. I think that if you just have it, they have to be out there. Like, you can't pursue a Flory and then not play him.
You have to surround them with good guard play too for it to work.
And you have to surround them with really good.
We have really good guard already on roster. So, like I said, it's not like just a death sentence for Duke. Like, that would be an amazing acquisition, and I'm pretty sure that John can figure out a way to work it out. I could see other alternatives, and I know everybody's like, "Oh my God, Flory." All the Duke fans are just like, he the main guy that everybody is waiting to see if we land, like, because he's the most recognizable name that we're linked to. But I don't want to make it seem like it's no substance to Flory. And like I said, understand the
No,
value.
you can have your own opinion.
Yeah.
I just
And I
couldn't. I
can
mean,
walk
Russ.
away from it.
I know.
Russ-
I just like I understand. I know the value of offensive versatility. Flory just don't have it. Everything that
but
you said
I
is
will.
right.
I will say.
I think he's a little more versatile than you're giving him credit for.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit more versatile, but I think at one point you're also kind of leaving out is the fact that him even just being the lob threat he is, the rim running threat he is going to open up so much for us. You know, and even the fact that he's a big man that can stay on the floor for a long time. Like this is a big man that can play 30 minutes.
That's a good
30
one.
like it's
If
very
Pat got hurt, do you want a
Yeah.
guy who you are bringing on to the roster specifically to play 18 minutes? Or do you want to bring in a guy who maybe like you try to figure it out playing side by side with Pat, and then if Pat can't play 28 minutes a game because of the wear and tear, then you've got a guy who can hold a much bigger workload. I mean, like to me, that part of the argument is sort of a no-brainer for Flory or Graves for that matter.
Yeah. So I think, you know, I'm still iffy on the mix with Pat. I get it. It's trying to replicate the Michigan aspect, but I think, you know, it's a little bit harder because Mara was such an outlier of a human being 7'3", that, you know,
and he was a extremely skilled big man.
Yeah. He even had touch too. Like so many points.
Extremely skilled.
He was pulling up from mid range, you know, and Morez kind of extended, you know, was able to roam the perimeter a little bit this year and hit a couple outside shots to maybe keep the defense honest. But, you know, I mean, you could kind of say the same thing for Pat. Like Pat should trend to be a better shooter next year. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm not completely sold on it. I need to see the full roster around it for sure.
Now I'm still like puff my chest out and say we're gonna win the title and woo. All the stuff that all the Duke fans do once we land them, if we do land them. But you know, basketball fit. I need to see the other pieces. I just need to see it. Like to be completely solid.
Yeah, for me, it really does boil down to like I kind of again share that I would love a little bit more proven shooting, a little more proven versatility, and obviously the Flory Pat thing I don't think works if you don't have a Blackwell type out there, right? So like all of that is contingent upon somebody with the gravity to space the floor to the degree that somebody like a Blackwell or someone of that ilk could do. Right, that goes without saying. But if you've got a Cayden, if you've got a Blackwell, if you've got a Flory, and if you've got a Pat, that's 4 all-conference caliber guys. You know, like the more all-conference caliber guys you can stack, not to mention like, you know, outside all-American contenders, you know, that you can stack on a roster. I just trust the guys at this point to figure it out, you know.
Yeah. But we'll see. Flory's not an automatic. He has a lot of visits. Louisville's on his case.
No one's automatic.
Yeah, so we'll see. A little bit.
I just seen something recently that said, like right before we got on, that Louisville was pretty much about to be out of it.
I saw a crystal ball, but they also gave a crystal ball to Flory to Texas Tech like 2 days ago, and then that disappeared. So
no, they were saying that Louisville was about to be out of the running.
Out of the race. Oh.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This was right before we got on that I had saw that. I don't know, like I didn't have a chance to go through it.
Why would you want to go there anyway? He wants to beat quad 1 teams, you know.
Pat Kelsey.
Yeah, I just I mean, I don't know, man. I know that John had.
I think they're good, but it's different. Michigan and Duke is different. That's different
levels.
If he goes to Michigan, man, that'll be very annoying now.
No good.
We'll see.
Yeah, because they just got Estrella, right? Estrella just committed to them.
Yeah, but they're clearly gonna do the thing that they did. They're gonna run it back. They're gonna just get other bigs. You know, they're just gonna do the same thing.
But I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of JPS Australia. Good for him to get that bag, but not worried about him. I guess the next ones we could kind of gloss over and then maybe take one call or two. I don't want to take too many calls. I guess Alan Graves, man. Take it away, Russ. This is your
Oh, boy.
this your moment, man. This is your moment.
Yeah, just one of the most skilled bigs in America. A great passer, a really good shooter. He's one of the leaders in sort of combined steals and blocks at his position. I think he's less of a guy that's going to like be a brick wall at the rim. He's more a guy that, again, a little like Malik. I don't know that he's maybe quite as quick as Malik, but he's very good with his hands. He's very, very good at disrupting. He can obviously shoot, as you just saw there. And I think that's the thing that's sort of most exciting is the three-pointer just looks nice. The stroke looks nice. He's got really good timing. He seeks turnovers. Again, I would say that maybe one of the arguments against him is, maybe he sought turnovers a little too much, but he was also a freshman. And we've talked repeatedly on this show, every freshman, makes some mistakes, trying to make the big play, I think he's one of the guys with some of the best upside. Also, his conditioning, as you can see, he's a little heavy-footed, just a little bit. He's definitely below the rim, but the touch on that finish, is sick. And the passing, he definitely replicates like Pat's level of passing in a big, big way. So, in particular, if Pat leaves, this is such a natural fit on the offensive end. And in fact, like I don't think it's controversial to say he's got a wider degree of stuff in his bag offensively than Pat does. He's not the wall-up rim protector defender that Pat is. He seeks the turnover a little bit more than Pat does. But again, he was a freshman. That could change with some time. And again, if Duke is going to play two bigs, you could do so much worse. Oh my God. Like he's a guy who you could play as sort of a four-man who could be sort of a roaming free safety on defense looking for steals and blocks, and then he could credibly stretch the floor. He could run the Pat and Cam Boozer high-low action. So, boy, oh boy. I'm just really excited about this kid. Whoever gets him, I really hope it's Duke. If it's not Duke, somebody's getting a winner. As you just saw in that dunk, he is not an above-the-rim guy. So even if he goes and tests at the combine.
I was about to say, they're saying he's testing, though, right?
Yeah.
Even if he tests, now he could just drain a billion threes and get a promise, same as Dame. Right? If you test and you perform, then maybe you're gone, right? But he's not a guy who, when they do like the vertical leap, the agility tests, he's not that guy. He's not going to be a plus NBA athlete in that respect. Like his NBA argument is, I am more skilled than you at my size. And I think that guys like that in a Duke uniform, John knows exactly what to do with. And it feels like such a no-brainer that he spends like a year at Duke. Even if he plays, 22 minutes, 24 minutes a game, he's the sort of guy who'd be draining threes and doing enough on defense that scouts would be salivating and he'd be on TV every week. It's an obvious pitch to me. I think that a blue blood school is going to get him one way or another, and I hope that it's us.
Yeah, I like his fit from a standpoint. He can drop down to the 4 or play the 5. I think he would be perfect with Pat. And then Cam, honestly, to me, he's skilled enough to the point where if you want to do the Yaxel, Mara, Merez type lineup with him, Cam Williams, and Pat, or whoever it is,
or Flory,
or Flory, that works like to perfection. And because he's skilled, and obviously Cam Williams.
Well, I haven't seen much of him play fully. What's his measurements?
He's like 6'9". Let me look it up.
Yeah, like maybe 6'10". He's sturdy. You can see in these clips, he's sturdy. Sturdy is also like code for like maybe a little heavier than his ideal weight.
I didn't watch that.
6'9", 220.
Okay.
Yeah, and I bet once he measures at Duke, he'd be 6'10", 230. But I think. But
yeah, I haven't watched him play a full game. I ain't gonna cap y'all down. I'm familiar with him though.
Yeah, he just
what he does.
Just the fundamentals too. Again, that shot fake that you just saw. He's not a fast player. And honestly, this is a weird comparison. He gives me like a little bit of like, you know how people questioned Khan before the season, including like me a little, because it was like, well, he's just not fast. So like, how are you going to be effective at such a high level if you don't have the speed? And the answer to that is, if you're just smarter and more skilled than the other guy, then you can pull that off. And so, like, even though at his position, he's going to be, like, below median athleticism, I would say, probably, realistically. Maybe that's not true for all of college basketball, but for, like, contenders below median for a center or even a power forward, he's so skilled. Like, he knows where to be. He knows how to use his hands. He's smart. Like, that sort of thing. You can't teach that kind of thing. Like, I mean, you can, I guess, but like, you can't make a guy's processing go that fast as a freshman and then like get him to that level. Like, he's at senior level processing as a freshman, and on a team where like there wasn't, like, they were a pretty good team for the WCC, let's be clear, but like they didn't have a bunch of NBA players around him like Duke would give. So I mean, I think it'd be really exciting to see what he could do in a Duke uniform.
Yeah, I think, that we'll see where that goes. He just entered the portal today, so
But do not contact too. I think I have seen somebody say it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. All that means is he doesn't want to get texted. All that means is contact his agent. That's all that means.
And then he obviously still, if he performs well in the draft, could lose him. So, if Duke does get hot on that trail, could be a Cedric Coward situation again. So don't want to, speak that into existence. But we will very much see. Another guy, I guess Duke visited on Saturday or no, tomorrow. They visit. I thought today was Monday. Aiden Sherrell, big man from Alabama.
I'm intrigued.
Very much led the SEC in blocks this year. And we saw him 2 years ago in the Elite Eight. Actually hit two threes.
Well in that game too. He hit a couple threes in that game.
Yeah, he had a couple threes in that game. I was
the tradition of a guy playing decently well against Duke, and then Duke
calling
classic.
But yeah, he has a lot of people on his line again. I think even some teams in the SEC as well. But what are your thoughts on Aiden Sherrell? Jamahal, start us off.
Now, basketball fit wise, he makes sense with Pat, just because of the variance in what they can do offensively. Big 6'11", 6'11" range is like 230-ish weight. How big is he?
Yeah, he like 6'11", 230, 250.
Yeah,
250.
6'11", 255.
Oh, my bad. I ain't want to shortchange you, my boy. Yeah, that was shortchanging you a lot. Yeah, but I mean, big guy. I was getting there. He's a big guy, but he's, from what I've seen of him, I've watched him a few times. More of a finesse guy, like that's what he specializes in. And I felt like it would be a good compliment to what Patrick brings if Patrick was to come back, or if it was to be him or Flory. You know what I mean? I like a lot of what Aiden Sherrell does. I feel like he gets a bad rap defensively because he plays for a program that isn't known for their defense, but I like some of his defensive tools. Did you say he led the SEC in blocks?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I didn't even know that. Okay.
But I mean, I don't think he gets praised as a defender. So
no, he don't. I feel like he gets a bad rap because Alabama gets a bad rap defensively. But yeah, I like
seventh in the SEC in block rate. But given how quickly they play, I'm sure that just means they play more possessions than anyone else.
Yeah, I'm intrigued, man. I like the tools that Aiden Sherrell has, so that would be a good addition, regardless if we get Pat. Like, the more bigs, the better, bro. I like, just bring them all at this point. I'm not sure how much he'll command on the market. I'm not sure if it'll be as much. Matter of fact, I know he won't cost.
All the big men are making money. Money.
Yeah. It's just, so I don't know. Sign me up for him. I like this kid. I like what this kid brings.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fit is obvious. I mean, Alabama, he led Alabama in plus minus more than anybody else. He was their, out of guys who played a lot, I was going to say he's one of their better defenders in plus minus as well, right? I think that the fact that he can shoot the ball pretty well, I know that his numbers on the season weren't that great, but like in the 16 Tier A games that they played, and again, that's the best games they played, and that's half of the games that they played this year were Tier A games, which is pretty crazy. He shot almost 46% from three in those games. He shot 45.5% from three, 65% from two, 81% from the free throw line in those games. I mean, like, that's a big game player if ever there was one. You know, I love that. Again, 7th in block rate in the SEC, 36th in block rate in the country. First in offensive rating in SEC play. First overall out of every player in the SEC.
Wow.
So, I mean, we're talking about a guy who's very efficient. 14th, this one I love, fouls drawn per 40 minutes, 14th in the SEC. You know, again, this is a guy who is drawing a lot of fouls, 5.3
Hold on.
fouls.
What do you shoot for the free throw line, though? Let me see.
In SEC play, he shot almost 80%.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, man. On the season, he shot 71. I think he like he got going this year, right? Because he shot better from free throw and from two as the season progressed. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to like here.
Yeah.
And again, the fit is obvious. Look, is he Flory? Is he Graves? No, he's not. Is he like an all ACC first team, you know, contender type guy the way that I would think that those two guys potentially could be? Probably not. But is he the sort of guy who would help your team win and who would fit very well in a system and would help make life a lot easier for your penetrating guards and for your big men? Absolutely. I mean, I think that if for whatever reason, you know, Duke can only get one of Flory, Graves, Pat, you know, like that kind of thing. If for whatever reason something like that shakes out, boy, oh boy, I mean, like he would be a phenomenal get. He would be an outstanding get in that respect. And again, if Duke wants to play multiple bigs, he's the sort of guy that you have to realistically pursue and try to get, because you're going to need depth at that position, and he brings it in a huge way. Not to mention, he's only a sophomore, so he's the sort of guy who can come to Duke, and even if he doesn't necessarily like start this year, if he plays just like a heavy role with the goal of being the starting like four for Duke, you know, his senior year, there's a pitch there as long as the money's right. There's a pitch there, you know. So I think it's a really smart pursuit. What I really love about this year in general from Duke is there are really no names that I've heard that have made me go like, "Yeah, are we going after this?"
Yeah, that's true.
There was Bashir from Kansas State. Where I
don't know how much truth there was.
Yeah, I don't think it was accurate though. I don't know how.
Yeah.
Do we think? Maybe.
I don't know I don't know how accurate it was. He can shoot the rock.
He can shoot the rock though. I mean, he could shoot the rock.
Duke might be interested, depending on Sebastian and depending on like what Duke wants to do in terms of depth. They could pursue, and I think any other names that we might bring up would be guys who would probably not be realistic starters, but would be depth pieces. You know, your Jacob Grandison type role, your Mason Gillis type role. You know, this sort of role. If you wanted to be that, I'm very open to that. I'm a little skeptical that he would want to be that.
I got the vibes. He think he Kobe Bryant of this year's class.
I mean, he shot well enough that he probably can get paid the way that Kobe Bryant got paid, in which case he should go get paid. But I don't think that Duke would pay him to do that.
No, I'm with you on that.
I don't think.
I'm not sure.
It's not an affordability issue.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
it's an issue of the assignment of monetary value that the university will probably do internally.
Yeah, I think Duke. People think like Duke could just throws money at everybody. I think Duke just thinks smart about how they use their money and how they sell their pitch, so they don't have to pay as much as other other people. But Duke can pay. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
Duke can pay.
It's insane to suggest otherwise. I mean, we definitely, Zion, you and I definitely know, like we've heard some numbers thrown around. Duke can pay. Like I think that I think that people like to have this idea of like, there are two types of schools. There's the money ball schools and there's like the Yankees type schools, right? But like after the original teams did like money ball stuff, the Yankees and the Red Sox and whatever hired Moneyball type dudes to apply those same principles to a giant budget. And like, Duke is ahead of the curve in terms of analytics of all sorts, like in every sense of the word. So like I'm not surprised when I hear like guys might want to kick the tires with Duke and say a number, and Duke goes, "We'll pay you this," and that's it. And then they go, and then they go get paid more elsewhere, which they should do. But like, that's kind of how it works. I think that some people asserting that like Duke doesn't want to pay a lot for a player, like how do you think Duke got Cooper Flagg and Cam Boozer in back-to-back years if Duke's some poverty program? You know what I mean? Like I think it's such an insane assertion. So I just wanted to bring that up for a moment because I've seen that floating in the ether, and I think it's insane.
Yeah. A couple quick hitters before we take one or two calls. There's some Sam Lewis smoke.
To Duke?
Not in the portal yet. But
if he enters,
it's possible that
I also heard this.
I ain't heard that at all, but you saw how I reacted when you just told me.
Yeah.
Bring it
So,
on.
what would be your thoughts on that? He cooked us. He cooked us in the AZ tournament. That boy was cooking.
I mean, another classic example of a guy cooking against Duke, and Duke. Yeah, I mean, like,
you want a job, bro? You did us so dirty. You want a job now? Like,
look, this would be a classic Grandison Gillis type signing. 100%.
I can't imagine Sam Lewis wanting to take a lesser role, though. I feel like he could like really throw himself into a different conversation in college basketball if he didn't play at Duke.
I mean, maybe, but like it depends on what he wants, right? Like, does he want to play for Kansas State and score 16 points a game and then go play in the CBI or whatever that tournament is called, or does he want to come to Duke, play 19 minutes a game, 20 minutes a game, like a good sized role, knock down open threes, make life easy for everybody else, play good defense. Not to mention, we've seen a number of guys from Duke who play about 20 minutes a game who then get NBA notice or who get G League notice or whatever. I don't pretend to know what Sam Lewis's overall draft stock would look like.
I don't think it's there.
No, but he's 6'7", and he shoot over the last 2 seasons. He shot like 43% from three. So I mean, like, I think that he'll play professional basketball somewhere, right? Like at least for a stretch, So I don't know. It depends on what he wants. I would love to see him. We need a guy like that, I would think. But he may not choose to join the portal anyway, in which case it doesn't matter.
But that was just an interesting. And then another one, Dillan Shaw. Some little whispers there. I'm not gonna act like I know much about him. I have his tape here, so that is Russ, the West Coast St. Mary's, yeah. 6'7" wing. Oh, it's the wrong. Oh wow! I didn't even notice. Man.
Come on, man.
Boo.
Come on. Oh, how about that? Ooh, I like that shot.
Freshman.
Look, he's a guy who shot like 42% from three as a freshman for St. Mary's, for a good St. Mary's team. I'd have to look up what his defense was. I'll be honest. Like, I watched St. Mary's a couple times this year. I know he started down the stretch. He made some threes in a couple of games that I watched. I mean, he definitely is a shooter. How does that manifest itself at Duke? Again, because he's a freshman, I would imagine he's the sort of guy that you sign in hopes of he plays a Grandison Gillis type role, this year, with the hopes of like junior year he starts or whatever, right? Like you sort of build, but there's clear potential there. Now, do I think that there's a chance that he just follows his coach to Arizona State? Sure, of course. But do I think that he will be a hot commodity given that he is a 6'7" guy who shot 42% from three in the portal? Yes, without question, he's going to be a hot commodity. So again, does he want to be a guy who starts somewhere? Does he want to play for a contender? Those are your two questions. And again, like if I were Duke, the pitch that I would be making is, we need shooting next year. We do have, presumably, hopefully, the best defender in college basketball at your position and a senior, hopefully, at the 2 guard, whether it's Blackwell or somebody else. Come in, play strong minutes for us, and as an upperclassman, be a starter. That would be the pitch that I would give. But you guys can look. I want to look up his defensive numbers while you guys talk.
From what I'm reading, I'm not gonna act like I've seen the kid play. I haven't seen the kid play, but from what I'm reading, all freshman team, 7.5 points per game, 5.4 rebounds. That's high level impact for a freshman, and 42% from three. And I'm reading some things about him having two-way ability here.
His impact in big games, was the tier A games that he played in, was not good. Like, let's just be clear, it was not good. He shot again, he's a freshman, grain of salt, but it was 29% from two, 26% from three, 64% free throw. And again, small sample size, he's a freshman, etc. But again, this is not a guy that if you're Duke, you're bringing in to start next year. You're bringing him in to be a shooter off the bench, to build that confidence, to build that skill set, and then, hopefully slot him into a starting role going forward.
I will say I could see him if let's say Duke magically gets him. I don't know how, how far they are in talking to him, but given that we do have, let's say Dame comes back, it's Cayden, Blackwell, Dame, Cam, whoever, Flory or Pat. That second unit with the wing spot, guard and wing spot is up for grabs in terms of providing couple minutes. So I do think they sell it. I mean, he'd be competing with Bryson Howard pretty much, and I guess Sebastian Wilkins if he comes back. So I mean, there's potential there.
I saw some rumors of Sebastian being back today.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that Sebastian will leave. Sebastian seems like he hasn't even really got his chance to make his imprint.
It would be kind of weird, yeah.
It'd be insane. I mean, I get that a Georgetown or a Maryland is going to try to throw a bag at him, but they threw a bag at him last summer, and he could have played a full season and probably played 28 minutes a game for those schools while getting the bag. And he chose to come to Duke and sit. Even if he didn't know he was going to redshirt, he knew he wasn't going to play much. Right? He knew that going into the year, and so to just transfer right away without playing a single game, I do think would be really wild. I think he came to Duke because he wants to play for Duke. And I think that he'd play. I'm a big believer in this guy.
Me too. Me too.
He's going to be a new photo. He got a kid. He got a photo at Duke as a kid. Just like we spammed the Caleb Foster photo.
Oh, did he? I don't even know if I've seen that.
Yeah, that's it. I know Duke is his dream school, so I would be shocked if he left.
I love it, man.
Getting the opportunity.
He's gonna rock next year. He's gonna be really good. Now he's honestly the guy who plays next year and then is the starter the next. That sort of. I get that smell test, but we'll see.
Yeah,
but we'll see. This pod is a very long pod. Let's take a couple calls and get out of here. Let me pull up the questions. Blue Devil Junkie. Hold on. Gotta send the audio. Reshare. Give me a second.
Excuse me, y'all.
There we go. Let's go. Blue Devil Junkie, you're first up, man. Long message. Is it playing? Y'all hear it? No, yes, no, nothing.
No, I can't hear nothing.
Okay, hold on. Let me refresh.
What's up, Crazy Cast? Yeah, I hate the portal. I hate losing these kids just because I like them. Nick, Darren, they seem like good kids. I'm pretty sure Darren grew up a Duke fan, and those are just guys that are easy to root for. But I got full faith in Shire and the staff to get the guys that we'll need to have another great year. I mean, 2 years ago we lost Roach, Mitchell, Blake's, Power, Reeves. I'm sure there's another guy I missed.
Sean Stewart. Yeah.
And we had probably the best year we've had in almost like a decade. And so I'm sure Shire and the guys will get who we need. I just hate losing out on these guys that are just fun to root for. But hopefully we can get the big man depth. I think, that was a big glaring issue with this year's team. And then the year with Flip running the 5, I mean, we just didn't have a real center who could guard anyone big.
Oof.
So, hopefully we can get some big man depth. I'd love to know if there's any names besides, like the Bidunga, the Blackwell, any names that just personally you guys think would be fun or would fit well at Duke, So love what you guys do and keep up the good work.
Appreciate you, Blue Devil Junkie. I'm trying to pull up the quick rankings right now if I have any names.
I want to say that I don't hate the portal. I don't hate the portal.
I love the portal.
I think that.
Wow. What's your reasoning?
Well, I think that players getting paid is good. I think it's morally good, and I think that it's the closest thing that we have to acknowledgement that college basketball is professional basketball, which it has been for ages, and they weren't getting paid to play professional basketball, and now they are. Now, in a perfect world, is there a collective bargaining agreement? And then, it's not the Wild West and whatever? Of course, right? That's the perfect world. But in order to do that, the NCAA has to acknowledge that these are, in fact, professional athletes, which they're going to try to resist. They're going to resist that until, it's scraped from their cold, dead fingers. So I think that it's good. I mean, I wish there was, again, a bit more of an infrastructure in place, because again, that would help with everything. It would, but man, I just think these kids getting paid to do the thing that they love is good. I just think that the ability to not. I lived through a lot of Duke basketball seasons in which there were players that loved Duke and we loved them, but who didn't necessarily fill the role that a specific roster required.
Yeah.
And now there is, at least for schools like Duke, I know this is not the case for everybody, but there is more flexibility in that respect for savvy, programs in order to do. And frankly, there are ways for schools, even like a High Point, if you have donors who can do an influx of money, to suddenly turn your program around pretty quickly. And I think that suddenness with which money can legally help change a program's course, I think is really cool. So I hate that we have to lose players, but also I think there's a lot of positive to it. Not to mention it gives way more to talk about in an off season, which is also kind of fun,
Yeah, this has been active. Like I said I think I said last week, Duke basketball, I mean college basketball in general is 365 if you're really committed to a program. The chatter for Duke basketball hasn't stopped. Obviously, we're watching the future. Shout out to the Rippy and Cam Williams playing in the Nike hoops, some of them all. It's a year-long thing to commit to this.
Yep.
But yeah, let's take another caller. Crazy Cast social media coordinator. I'm already assuming this is Monty.
What's up, Crazy Cast? Hope y'all boys have had a great off season so far. Just want y'all's thoughts on Duke trying to navigate the new landscape in general, as far as going more portal heavy and not as much high school or long Duke commits anymore. And Russ, please go get JJ out of the Lakers disaster and bring him back to Durham to fill the assistant spot. DDMF.
You're not gonna go from the Lakers to be an
I was about to say,
assistant in
why the
college
hell
basketball. Good lord, man.
what?
JJ's one of my all-time favorite. Like he was probably because like not to like age myself too much, but like when I was in high school, like JJ was like the guy, you know. So I was very enamored with, you know, the way he played and those seasons and everything else. Yeah, man, I have no problem, like I just said, with any of the portal stuff, and I'm excited to see how Duke uses it to their benefit, and I would like to see players who want the opportunity. You know, like let's say again, I don't know that Sam Lewis wants to do this, but Sam Lewis went from Toledo to Virginia without having to sit out for a year, and rose his stock. Whereas in the past, he would have only gotten one transfer, and he would have had to sit out an entire year of his life, and then he wouldn't have that additional opportunity. Now, he potentially has the opportunity to go again, if he chooses to transfer, which he may not, let's be clear. But like a guy like him, for instance, can go from a mid-major, not have to sit out, play at a high level, at a high major, and if they want to try to explore even higher opportunities, they can do so right away without incurring, you know, another year of their life passing. I think that's objectively a good thing. So,
I said it a couple weeks ago. I'm pretty sure. Like I expected Shire to like going all in on the portal this year, just because, you know, obviously we don't have the Cam Boozer coming in, and I mean, I'm kind of glad. Obviously, you know, people might clip the I don't know if an Arkansas fan is going to listen to this far into the podcast. I'm glad JSJ didn't commit because we have a little bit more like room right now to play with, as opposed to if he committed, it's
the
like
shooting would have been so bad, dude.
Yeah, and if he committed,
He's
would have
sick.
been like
He's a great player. But the shooting would have been bad.
It would have been like Rippy, JSJ, Bryson, Cam Williams. Now we're figuring out how to build around them, and I don't think any of them are, you know, good players coming in. They're not Cam Boozer or Cooper Flag level. So, you know, I think this gives us a little bit more
kind of guard anyway.
Right. I think this gives us so much room, and now, you know, we're kind of seeing like, oh, we got options. Like they're going after 2 top 10 portal. Oh, they're going after 3 top 10 portal guys. So like, you know, I like this a little bit more.
3 portal guys.
Nah, it really do look like we're going after all 3 of the top 3 guys that's on the portal list. That's
and we won't get all of them, but the fact that we're going after them, I think, to Zion's point, shows the money investment they're interested in making in the portal this year. Yeah. And also, I want to say that JSJ could end up being the best freshman in college basketball next year, and it's not a slight against him. I think it's more a fit thing than anything else. I mean, like he's a sick player, but you know, Duke maybe has some other things that they might need next year, and so maybe it'll work out for all parties involved.
But you're right about that. If Jordan Smith would have committed to Duke, 100% they would have built everything around him. He would have been the main guy, you know what I mean. So I'm with you on that. It leaves a little bit wiggle room for us to supplement the roster with multiple pieces. And like I said, it's easier to build around, or it's harder to build around guards anyway. Even though it can be done, it's just everything else has to be specifically right, you know.
Yeah. And,
how many more calls we got?
This is the last one. I was gonna wrap it up here because it's too long, but I wanted to honor people calling. Nick, I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
Yo, guys, thank you so much for all your great work. This might be a little out of left field, but I was thinking about the Duke Mount Rushmore, and I think there's 3 names that have to go on there. You know, Leitner has to go on there. I think it's pretty definite that the next 2 have to be Grant Hill and JJ Redick. And then I was struggling to figure out the 4th name. I came up with 4. I'm thinking, is it Hurley, or is it Johnny Dawkins, or is it Battier, or is it Jay Williams? But what's you guys' thoughts? Who's the 4th one? Am I wrong about those first 3? Again, thank you all so much for everything you do.
That's a good question.
My fourth is Jalen Blake's. Go ahead, Russ.
Jordan Goldwire, my boy Jay Gold.
Mine, J-Rod, man.
This is a really tough one, obviously. I think that, in my opinion, and again, I'm not dodging the unk accusations here, but I think your top 5 guys from whom you choose 4 probably have to be Leitner, Hill, Hurley, Battier, and probably JJ Redick. I think you could maybe argue some other guys as like that 4th, but like in terms of guys who you would consider for those top 3 picks, I think that those are like the 5 names that you really have to strongly consider. It's really hard for me to, again, I don't know that I can get away from. I don't think I can get away with picking 3 guys from one team. Is the bottom line?
So
They are guys.
Leitner and Hill.
Yeah, I mean, like I want to pick all 3 of them because they're 3
I don't
of
think
the
Hurley
best
should go
college
up
players in the
I don't
history
think
of college basketball. But like, I mean, Hurley only got there because assist farmer Braden Smith, didn't care about winning games as much as he cared about, stacking
assist farmer
and some of those things, right? Otherwise, that record would continue to exist. Also, did he play 5? No, he probably only played 4.
No, I played 4.
He played 4.
He played 4, but he started from. He's a really, really good player. Whatever. The point being, that record stood a really, really long time.
Long ass time, bro.
I am inclined to maybe go Leitner, Hill, Battier, Redick, but that means just leaving off Hurley, which is really, really hard for me. My first basketball coach, when I was playing, had to work on my shooting form because I shot the ball like Bobby Hurley. I had that Sean Marion kind of like that push shot that Bobby had.
You still do.
And you don't know.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that'd probably be my 4. I don't know that I feel super passionately about anything beyond if somebody wanted to leave one of those guys off, but I think those are your top 5.
I don't have a problem with his 4. I would put Jay Williams over Bobby Hurley. Just because Jay Williams got a player
as a player for sure.
Yeah.
But do you put Jay Williams over Battier and Redick?
I could put him over Redick. He's a champion.
Yeah. As a player, I put him over Redick.
Yeah, as a player, yeah.
Yeah, it's a championship though. Like he
was National Player of the Year and he was a champion.
But it does kind of feel weird that JJ Redick wouldn't be on a Mount Rushmore though.
It do, but I'm just saying, like, who are you kicking off? Everybody can't go. It's 4 spots.
Who was the National Player of the Year when Duke won the title in 2001?
Shane Battier, and then Jay Wills won it the next year. Jay Will won it 2002, which was weird because Juan Dixon won.
I also don't want to bring up bad memories, but if people recall how that game ended in 2002 in the tournament.
Yeah, I remember vividly how that game ended.
That hurt.
The game ended in 25. Well, not the same.
Redick also had that thing of like those rosters were wonky, his sophomore through senior year, they were so stacked. It was so leveraged on Redick and Sheldon. And so by the end of the year, he was just gassed because he was scoring 30 points a game or whatever.
Yeah, I was talking about that on Twitter. A lot of people don't. That year was special. We'll never see another year.
I can't recall the last time I've seen a player like him.
Me neither.
Like what he did. I mean, Buddy Hield maybe got close, but not at the same level that JJ was doing it.
That was different. That 05-06 year was different, bro.
And every single player, outside of the paint, every player knew JJ was catching the ball on every possession. And there was still nothing that you could do. It was the craziest thing ever. It was the craziest thing ever.
He be on my Mount Rush.
I don't got no argument over JJ.
He's the leading scorer in Duke history, and will probably stay that way forever. You know.
Yeah, because we won't get another 4-year guy that scores to that level all 4 years.
Yeah.
Very unlikely.
Yeah.
Closest thing we ever got with recent history is Grayson Allen.
Grayson Allen, yeah.
That didn't pan out the best of final 2 years. But yeah, we appreciate y'all. I'm gonna let Jamahal and Russ go rest, man. You know, it's we gave you a 2-hour, 20-minute episode, and there's still so much to talk about because something could drop any second. You know, we were kind of lucky for nothing to drop. I think because Cam is about to get his Wooden Award in 20 minutes. So we'll see, you know, if anything happens in the next couple of days. But you know, we'll be back soon. There's a lot to talk about, and you know, there's probably big news dropping any second now. But appreciate y'all for tapping in with us. We'll catch you later. Go Duke.